Good morning, this is Paul, and today I'm going to share with you the overall setup of my dragon fruit collection. So you can see here, I'm going to do another row this week of dragon fruit. I separate them about 10 feet apart, and we have plenty of more space for more dragon fruit in the future. So it's about 1/3 of an acre. I am going to plant some trees this winter and start a canopy because I really like to grow my dragon fruit under some sort of plants or canopy in Southern California. You can see these varieties here are doing great. Soul Kitchen White, G2, Edgars Baby, Cosmic Charlie, Nitzel, and Nicaraguan Red are on this row. So lots of great growth. They're very, very happy plants. I'm gonna continue to not mix my varieties. I did this over a year ago. So you can see this is G2 versus a Soul Kitchen White. Definitely the plants look different, but I don't know how they're going to compete for nutrients or things in the future. So as much as possible, I'm going to continue to plant these single varieties in one pot. You can see I do get rust in Southern California here this time of year. The cold mornings leave some moisture on the plant, but I don't do anything about it. If it bothers me too much, you could use hydrogen peroxide or neem oil. You can spray that on, or copper fungicide, but it usually goes away in time. So I'm in the north side of this bamboo, so it gets a filtered sunlight. You can see I have several more varieties that I've placed in between the bamboo. Mostly white varieties. That's Vietnamese white, Bin Hoi white, and then my Megalanthus varieties. I have a Desert King over there and a Columbiana, as well as some unknown varieties too. I think this is Condor. It's some really old DNA that my friend got from me from along the coast in Southern California, and it's just taken off. So I really have most varieties growing in a part sun environment, and let me go show you another section. So this is a beautiful Guatemalan variety that I got from my friend who got it from Paul Thompson's house. So I'm really excited to see what this produces in the future. But you can see on the sunny side of the bamboo, it did get too much sunburn and rot, and I had to cut some out, and most of it I just left alone, and I did prune back a few branches. But this thing's bouncing back in no time. And luckily I have a clump of bamboo behind me that should provide that plant more shade next season. So hopefully that will not happen again. Now I have a nice purple haze here, about 9 months to a year old, from 2 sources. And the largest one is from Spicy Exotics. You can see it's doing really well, and it does tolerate a bit more sun than the other varieties. And most Paul Thompson hybrids seem to tolerate a bit more sun. They will yellow, but they do pretty well. So Purple Haze is having a great year. And in this bamboo variety, I do have a very large white unknown variety, and it's seeming to thrive behind this bamboo. Now coming around here, you can see, I'll show you that this variety gets way too much sunlight. And so luckily this bamboo is going to provide more shade next season, but Solanaceae setaceus DNA tends to get a bit more yellow in zone 9B in Southern California, inland a bit. And same with this Laverne Red, which I got from Donovan Basta. But I'm going to continue to let them be and just see what happens, because there's a very large bamboo behind me that will provide much more shade for these guys next season. Now I do have some more around the corner here. You can see what they look like. And let's go check out my first section that I've planted up on this hill. So here's my oldest section. They're 2 seasons old now, and they will definitely produce some fruit next year. This is Dark Star. It's definitely taken off. It was just topping the trellis back in April, so it had a great season. You can see I have about 20 more varieties all spread throughout this hill, and I'm adding some more trees to provide a bit more canopy for some of these plants. All right, let me go up the hill a bit. So these get a bit more shade from under a California pepper tree in the morning, and they're very, very happy. Sugar dragon, red jaina, and many, many more. So these trellises are hollow in the center compared to the ones you saw at first, which are filled with concrete. Now, I've done videos on how to make these, and I really prefer the ones filled with concrete, although I do have to say I'm enjoying having them on this chain link fence method as well. You can see most of the weight's on some of these posts that I put in front of the fencing, and the plant just kind of grows all up into the fence. It's doing pretty well. We'll see how it does in the long term. So continuing on, this is kind of where it gets a bit messy, but this is where I'm going to be planting a lot of these unknown varieties I have, which are from George Emmerich Jr.'s collection, which I've talked about before, hopefully you've seen. And then we also have this double-decker trellis with multiple varieties, and it's just going to be a big giant mess someday, but it's going to be really fun, and I'm excited just to see what happens. But all the plants are very, very happy. They get a bit of part sun here and afternoon shade as well, and so sun damage and sunburn was not a problem, and they're just taking off here in the first level. Now this section is a bit warmer than the rest of the property. It's more like a zone 10. So I have Bruni here doing really well. It does get a bit of afternoon sunlight, and it did get a little bit of damage, but not bad at all. It's really taken off this season. And so these are where I kind of put some of my more sensitive varieties, ones I want to keep protected, or I guess I really care about them. Like here's one of my hybrids here, a seedling, as Orahona crossed with an unknown pollen source, and it's doing really well. So I give it a lot of morning sunlight, and then the afternoon it's kind of gets protected from this fruit tree here. And in addition, you have several more just kind of in throughout these plants here, and avocado trees. Condor, Kathy Von Aram, what else? Several of George Emmerich Jr.'s, Assunta 4, things like that. They like to be kind of protected, at least in our climate or our yard, and they seem to be doing really, really well. So I have all sorts of different trellises and strategies, and honestly I think some of these are just going to grow into the trees in time, which I'm excited to see. And this is just a 7-foot post with some burlap wrapped around it and a nice mature avocado tree. This is a bacon avocado tree. So you can see I've walked up the hill now, just how many we have along the fence and all the different trellis methods that we're using here. Here's our palm tree trellis. It's doing pretty well. Lots of new growth. Lots of plants I need to still trellis. And then here's that first raised garden bed I've done. And the growth is a bit stunted, so I've been working with Vermistera, and I have these hydrospirals in there now, and I'll be talking about them soon. But they're starting to bounce back, but for some reason, just the soil quality that I was using, or the mixture, it's just kind of made these plants a little bit stunted this season. But they're the only ones out of everything in the collection. All right, let me go show you some more on the other side of the property. So here's another unknown variety I have of red fleshed, I believe. And a neighbor gave it to me, so I just put it on this queen palm just to see what happens without a trellis, and I put it in a small pot. So if it ends up being a fruit that is really great, I'll give it a proper trellis. If not, I'm just gonna let it live its life here. Now I am gonna set up several more trellises here in this nice little section, zone 9B. And it's up on a hill, so a lot of the cold weather, if we do get it, it will kind of drain below this section. So this is gonna stay pretty warm in the winter. It also gets a nice amount of sunlight in the afternoon, so I have the space to probably squeeze in about a dozen varieties or so here. I have another one up on the queen palm way up there. Let me go show you that one now. So I did a very similar setup with this one. It's an unknown Hyloceres polyrizus, most likely. But this one I only gave it a little bit of support, and you can see it's really shooting out its epiphytic roots. And so I want to see how this one does just climbing up this tree, this queen palm. It's about a 20-foot queen palm. So probably in 2 years, it's probably going to be out of hand. But you can see it's really attached itself really well. Not so well up there, but a little farther down. So yeah, I have some just growing on palm trees just for fun without a proper trellis, just so I could see what happens. All right, let me go show you 2 more sections, the greenhouse and kind of my rooted zone for rooting. Well, after I've rooted them, I place them in this nice little spot. So let me go show you that. Okay, so I must admit it's a bit busy in here. I guess I look like a plant hoarder, but that's okay. And you can see I do have some banana plants in here, but I have a lot of my dragon fruit hybrids, my seedlings in here, unrooted cuttings on this right-hand side, where I'll water them a little bit, usually the flesh, once or twice a week this time of year, November, December. And I did apply rooting hormone to get them to root. Now these ones on the left are all my grafts or rooted cuttings that I want to grow, and they will continue to grow inside this greenhouse all winter long. Some are getting new growth right now. So if you don't have something like this, you could create it for pretty cheap using plastic and some wood. I mean, there's plenty online that you could see how to create your own greenhouse. And I've also seen some cheap ones that you could buy on Amazon, but I'd be concerned about the wind with those. So if you're in a windy area, I would not use that type. I'd probably build my own. So yeah, there's plenty of nice growth in this greenhouse. You can see they're really happy. Here's Godzilla and so many more. Now, once they've rooted pretty well, there's another spot in the yard I like to place them, especially since this is so full. So let me go show you that last little spot. And then I've shown you just about all my dragon fruit. So it doesn't look like much, but this spot is perfect for these rooted cuttings. So here's an axe I have here. You can see it's still wanting to grow. Still has new growth, it's doing great. And the reason why I think is that it gets a nice amount of afternoon sunlight from about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock until dusk. It's just 5 o'clock right now, but it's filtered from this bamboo. And it also gets plenty of protection from the wind. So all of these have rooted, and you can see that there are many that have a lot of new growth. Like this one just shot, I swear that wasn't there 2 weeks ago. So this is a nice little section where I place a lot of my rooted cuttings and things that I just want to get that little bit of protection from the wind and possibly full sunlight, because most of these are not quite ready for that. So in addition, you've hopefully seen that we've done a dragon fruit on a rock, and you can see that here. And that thing's doing well. It's got some new growth, but nothing exciting to show beyond this little B-roll. So there you go. Give us a like, a subscribe, and thanks for checking out all of the dragon fruit madness here. All right, have a great day. Take care.